Right, so working on this Suzuki Sierra, Holden Drover, and the temperature gauge doesn't work. Fuel gauge works fine, temperature gauge doesn't. So what I did, I've taken this out and I've connected it up straight to the battery in the sensor, and it works fine. The problem is in the cluster. So I'll just show you this quickly. Disconnected to the battery. The top one is power and the bottom one is to the sensor. Okay, so without waiting too long, because it's really slow to come up, and see that temp sensor is coming up slowly. It's really slow to come up, but it works now with this being directly on the battery like that. It comes up about halfway, just underneath that little sign there. So the temperature's working fine, the gauge works fine. So the problem's in the car. Now what I found is the power comes directly from the fuel sensor. So you got power that comes from this point here, that's 12 volt. When you look at the readings on this one, it fluctuates between 3 and 5 volt. And when I short it directly across, then the fuel gauge comes up as well, so that's no good to me. And I've spotted that inside there is points, and it looks a little bit corroded. So I'm going to give those a bit of a clean, and with a bit of masonry paper, wet and dry. And once I've done that, we'll give her a test and see if that fixes up the temperature sensor problem or not. Because if that doesn't fix the problem, then I might have to cut a track on the circuit board here and run 12 volt directly to that point myself for the temp sensor. Just showing you there the masonry papers in there to clean those points. So we'll give it a try soon. I can't show you sanding it while I'm holding the camera and the gauge, but you get the idea there. Don't force it open. All I did was use a small screwdriver just to open those points up a tiny bit so I can get the masonry paper in there, and then close it on it so I can sand it. I'm going to give it a spray of WD in there as well, just to added bonus, because it does have a bit of rust, so we want to prevent that getting any worse. Alright, I'll finish this up, cleaning it up, put it back together, and we'll see if the temp gauge works now. Definitely fixed something there. I just want to show you this quickly, just putting a multimeter test on it, and I expect it to be a dead short between those two now, with the points cleaned up. Before I had a reading of 300, the resistance of 300. Now I've got a short, so that's very encouraging that everything's going to work. Alright, well that's done the trick, cleaning those points. You can see, ignore the fuel because that's obviously low, but the temperature gauge comes up to there now, and she's happy to sit there. I've arced it out to make sure, and it does go to over hot if I arc it. I've shorted the wire out just to see if it goes all the way to hot, and it does. So that's where it's happy to sit. I'm happy with that. And a word of advice though, don't spray WD-40 onto the area, because when I did that, the fuel gauge stopped working, and I thought that I'd buggered it up. And the fuel gauge was staying on empty and just burning off a lot of smoke from the WD-40. And so I thought, bugger it, I have no choice other than to turn it on and see what happens. And the fuel gauge did come good after blowing off a lot of smoke from the WD-40. So just, yeah, don't touch it with WD-40. Clean the points only and put it back in. Don't put any WD-40 in there, and you should be right to go. Anyhow, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks guys.